was a cool July evening. Whitby, a coastal town in northern England, looks beautiful during the day. But as the sun begins to drown into the sea, the alleys, stone walls, and shadows of old churches cast a strange and eerie vibe. We had rented a small room there for a few days, drawn by the backdrop of Bram Stoker's famous novel Dracula. We spent the whole day at the beach. At night, we decided to take a walk along the coast. The air was thick with the salty smell of the sea. On the way, we came across a few tourists, some locals, and some unusually deserted lanes, until we reached that old stone bridge. The bridge was narrow, aged, and damp, with black seawater flowing beneath it. The dim moonlight shimmered gently across the soft waves below. As we slowly walked to the center of the bridge, we saw someone standing there, a sudden and strange appearance. It was an old man, his body worn by time, with a white beard, tattered clothes, and eyes filled with an intensity that didn't seem of this world. He looked straight at us and said in a trembling voice, "This place is not for you. Turn back immediately. Something lives in the dark beneath this bridge." We paused for a moment. Elena looked at me and we both chuckled. I thought maybe he was some old local trying to scare tourists with ghost stories. "Maybe we'll catch a glimpse of Dracula," Elena joked. But as we crossed the bridge, something strange happened. Elena's red handkerchief slipped from her bag, the same one she always kept with her. It fell below, into the dark, and despite the darkness, we saw it clearly. Something was looking at us from beneath the bridge, neither man nor beast, just a dark shadow, still, motionless. It had no eyes, but it felt like it was staring right at us. Elena shivered. "What was that?" she whispered. I quickly grabbed her hand and we turned back to run across the bridge. But the old man was gone. We ran straight to the hotel. Our hearts were pounding so loudly it felt like our chests would burst. Once in our room, we locked the door, drew the curtains, and sat in silence. Elena kept asking, "You saw it too, didn't you?" "That thing, that shadow?" I couldn't lie. I had seen it too. We thought maybe it was all a hallucination from the night. But when we went downstairs for breakfast, the hotel cashier gave us a strange look. "Did you go near the bridge?" he asked. We looked at each other. "Yes, but at night," I replied. He nodded slowly and said in a low voice, "A girl disappeared there earlier this month, right by that same bridge. Every year someone just disappears. The police can't find anything." A chill ran down my spine. We packed our bags immediately and left Whitby on the next train. But the story didn't end there. Elena began to change. She often spoke in her sleep, her eyes filled with terror. One night when I tried to wake her, she looked at me and whispered, "He was under the bridge. He said my name." I decided to take her to a doctor, but nothing medical came up. Then one night around 3 a.m., I got up to get some water. As I walked toward the kitchen, I saw Elena standing on the balcony. I slowly opened the door. She was whispering, like she was calling out to someone. "Elena?" I said nervously. She turned her head towards me, but her eyes weren't the same. They were deep, black, and empty. "He's calling me," she said. "He's still under the bridge in Whitby." I rushed to her, pulled her inside, and we locked the balcony door that night. Elena's mental health had completely deteriorated. She kept mentioning the bridge, saying over and over, "I looked into his eyes. He won't stop following me now." We sought treatment, changed therapists, but nothing helped. One night I couldn't find her in the room. The door was open, the balcony curtain fluttering in the wind. Police searched, reviewed CCTV. Elena was last seen boarding a bus headed toward Whitby. My heart sank. Elena never returned. I went to Whitby myself to find her. I visited the bridge, but there was only silence. Yet I remember clearly. As I stood there, a small boy came up to me and said, "Are you here to find her too? My sister went there. She never came back." Then he pointed toward the bridge. "He's underneath. He calls everyone, only those who see him." Conclusion: Whitby is still beautiful today. Tourists come, take pictures, and leave with Dracula souvenirs. But those who look beneath that bridge, something follows them. So if you ever go to Whitby, don't go near that bridge. And if you must, don't look down. London's relentless pace had become suffocating. The blaring horns, the ceaseless crowds, the never-ending deadlines. It was all too much. I needed a break, a place to breathe. Late one night, scrolling through Airbnb listings, I stumbled upon a quaint cottage in Kent, nestled in a village called Pluckley. The photos showcased a serene garden, rustic wooden doors, and a tranquil pond. Reviews spoke of peaceful evenings and starry skies. However, a recurring mention caught my eye. Pluckley was reputed to be the most haunted village in the UK. I chuckled at the notion. Ghosts? I was seeking solace, not stories. I arrived on a bright June afternoon. The sun bathed the village in a golden hue, and the air was thick with the scent of blooming flowers. The cottage was as charming as the pictures had suggested. The garden buzzed with bees, and the pond reflected the clear sky. The villagers I encountered were polite but distant. Their eyes lingered a moment too long, and their smiles didn't quite reach their eyes. It was as if they knew something they weren't telling me. That evening, I sat in the garden, sipping tea and listening to the chirping birds. The tranquility was a balm to my frayed nerves. As night fell, I took a sleeping pill and drifted into a deep, dreamless sleep. For the first time in months, I felt at peace. Around 3 a.m., I awoke with a start. The room was silent, but a sense of unease settled over me. I approached the window and peered out. There, standing motionless in the garden, was a tall man wearing an old-fashioned black coat and a weathered hat. He stared directly at me, unblinking. I called out, but he neither moved nor responded. I rushed outside, heart pounding. The garden was empty, the night air cool against my skin. A shiver ran down my spine. I returned inside, trying to rationalize the encounter. Perhaps it was a dream, a figment of my imagination, but the lingering sense of dread suggested otherwise. The next morning, I approached an elderly man near the village post office. Describing the figure I'd seen, I asked if he knew of anyone matching that description. He fell silent, then whispered, "You're in Pluckley. There are spirits here, some visible, some felt. The man you saw is one of them." I forced a laugh, but unease gnawed at me. Determined to find a logical explanation, I set up a CCTV camera overlooking the garden. That night, I woke again at 3 a.m. The figure stood in the same spot, staring. The next morning, I reviewed the footage. The garden was empty throughout the night, no sign of the man. Yet I had seen him with my own eyes. At the local pub, I recounted my experiences to a middle-aged man named William. He nodded knowingly. "They call him the Hanging Man," he said, "a soldier from long ago who took his own life. He appears to those who harbor hidden fears. Perhaps Pluckley has awakened something within you." His words unsettled me. On the fourth night, I connected the CCTV to my phone for a live feed. At 3 a.m., the garden appeared empty on screen. Yet when I looked out the window, the man was there, staring. I snapped a photo with my phone. The image showed an empty garden. He was invisible to the camera, but not to me. I realized he wasn't just an apparition. He was invading my space. That night, I felt his presence inside the cottage. I locked the door, lit a candle, and recited verses from the Quran, a childhood habit for protection. The night passed slowly, each creak of the floorboards amplifying my fear. By the fifth day, I decided to leave. As I packed my belongings into the car, I glanced back at the garden. He stood there smiling, a weary, haunting smile. It felt like a farewell, but also a warning. Back in London, I hoped to leave the nightmares behind. But every night at 3 a.m., I awoke, sensing a presence. Shadows danced across the walls, and occasionally a face appeared at the window. I moved to a new apartment, installed cameras in every room, but the disturbances continued. I began to accept that he had followed me. He was no longer confined to Pluckley. He was a part of my life, an unseen guest, always present, always watching. Desperate, I sought help from spiritual healers and paranormal experts. Some offered rituals, others advice. But nothing changed. The 3 a.m. awakenings persisted, each more terrifying than the last. One night, I dreamt of the Hanging Man. He spoke, revealing that he was drawn to my hidden fears, my suppressed guilt. Pluckley had merely been the catalyst. He was a manifestation of my inner demons. Understanding this, I began to confront my fears. to face the truths I'd long buried. The nightly visits became less frequent, the shadows less menacing, but he never truly left. Now I live with the knowledge that he's always there, a reminder of my past, my fears, my vulnerabilities. We've reached an uneasy truce. Sometimes I wonder if Pluckley is more than just a village. Perhaps it's a state of mind, a mirror reflecting our deepest fears. Once you've seen it, felt it, it never truly leaves you. The hanging man is my guest now, and I am his. There are moments in life when time seems to stop, and you feel like what's happening to you is not of this world. Moments when you desperately wish it was just a nightmare. But even with your eyes wide open, the dream doesn't end. This is one of those stories. My name is Saad, and this incident took place last summer. The three of us, Harris, Zion, and I, had planned a week-long adventure in Staffordshire. We had already decided to visit Cannock Chase, a well-known forest. We'd heard that the biking trails there were amazing, and the natural scenery was breathtaking. We also knew the place was considered haunted, especially the stories about the black-eyed child. But we always thought of those as jokes or local folklore. We arrived around noon. The sun was bright, the breeze pleasant, and the forest felt like something out of a dream. We got our bikes and hit the trail. After a while, we found ourselves on a deserted path where the forest became denser. Everything looked fine on GPS. By evening, we had gone pretty deep into the woods. Suddenly, Harris said, "Guys, my GPS isn't working. I think the signal's gone." Zion and I checked our phones too. No signal, no internet. We figured it was just because we were deep in the forest. We decided to turn back. That's when Zion noticed something. "Hey, who's that little girl?" We looked. A small girl was standing at the edge of the forest, maybe 7 or 8 years old, dressed in black, straight hair, and her eyes pitch black, completely dark, with no whites at all. We all froze. For a moment, we couldn't tell if it was real or some prank. Harris whispered, "Maybe a tourist kid who got lost," I replied softly. "Wearing clothes like that, and those eyes. This feels wrong." We tried to move toward her, but the moment we took a few steps, she turned around and vanished into the thick trees. Leaving our bikes behind, the three of us rushed after her, but there was nothing. No sound, no trace. The forest silence started to feel unnatural. Zion said, "Guys, I don't like this. We should get out of here." We ran back to our bikes. By now it was almost dark. As we reached the parking lot near the car, we felt it again. Under the parking light, she was standing there. This time she was smiling, but the way she smiled, it didn't feel human, like a tape being played in slow motion. Elena shivered. Harris shouted, "Get in the car now!" We jumped into the car, slammed the doors shut. As I rolled up the window, she vanished again. We drove in silence. As soon as the signal came back, I opened Google Maps. But the strange thing was, the trail we had followed didn't even exist on the map. Harris said dryly, "So where the hell were we?" We thought maybe it was an old trail, no longer in use. But later when we spoke to a local guide, he was shocked. There's no trail in that part of Cannock Chase. In fact, several kids went missing from that area years ago. And then he told us the story. Back in the 1980s, people reported seeing a young girl with completely black eyes. She's often seen in places where crimes were committed. Some say she's the spirit of the missing children who never got justice. We were stunned. 1 week later, I was sitting in my room late at night when I felt someone standing near the window. I slowly pulled back the curtain. She was there, smiling, those same black eyes. I screamed, but when I looked again, nothing. I tried to tell myself it was just my imagination, but the next morning Zayn texted me, "Bro, that girl with black eyes. She was standing outside my window last night." We immediately called Harris. He said, "I've started sleepwalking. The other night I found myself outside at 3 a.m. and I was holding an old black piece of cloth. I have no idea where it came from." We were all terrified. Cannock Chase isn't just a forest, it's an ancient silence that grows more alive with time. Something is out there, something that can be seen, but isn't human. If you ever go there, don't follow the trail that doesn't show up on GPS. And if you ever see a little girl, Don't look into her eyes. They say once you look into her eyes, you never sleep peacefully again. 1 month later, I had never felt this kind of fear before. We kept trying to convince ourselves it was all in our heads, but whatever it was, it had followed us back. Every night I had the same dream. I was standing in a dark forest, and someone was walking behind me. When I turned, she was there. Those black eyes, so close I couldn't breathe. Harris told me he saw someone else in his mirror, not his reflection, but a shadowy figure behind him. He got so scared he removed every mirror from his house. Zayn left his apartment altogether. He said he heard footsteps every night, and in the morning there would be small footprints near his bed, as if a child had walked there barefoot, looking for something. We contacted a paranormal expert. He listened to our story, asked for photos, and then said only one sentence: "You've entered her circle. There's no going back now." We asked, "Is there any way to stop this?" He paused, then asked, "Did any of you look directly into her eyes?" None of us spoke, because the truth was, we did. And since then, we've never slept in peace again.